Let me ask you something. How many times have you told yourself, "Tomorrow I will be more disciplined," and tomorrow came, but nothing really changed? You feel motivated at night, full of hope, full of plans. But the next day, when it is time to act, your brain suddenly feels tired, distracted, or uninterested. And then a quiet voice appears. Maybe I am just not disciplined enough. But what if that voice is wrong? What if the problem is not your personality, but your biology? Your brain is not designed to help you build long-term goals. It is designed to protect you, save energy, and avoid discomfort. Discipline feels hard because effort feels like danger to your ancient brain. In this episode, you will discover how to trick your brain into liking discipline. You will learn how to design your environment, reduce resistance, and turn consistency into something natural, not forced. And while improving your English, you will also build a stronger, smarter version of yourself. And if this lesson gave you something useful, I'd love it if you tapped like and subscribe to the channel. It helps you stay connected, and it also helps this little learning community grow. Every click really does make a difference. With love, let's dive in. Why does your brain naturally resist disciplined behavior? Your brain developed in a world where survival was the only priority. Thousands of years ago, humans did not need productivity systems or long-term career goals. They needed food, safety, and rest. Energy was limited, and wasting it could mean danger. Because of this history, your brain learned to avoid unnecessary effort. When you sit down to study, exercise, or work on a long-term project, your brain does not immediately see future success. It sees effort. It measures how much energy the task will cost. If the reward is far away, your brain feels uncertain, and uncertainty feels risky. So it pushes you toward something easier and more immediate, like scrolling on your phone or watching a video. This reaction is automatic. It is not a sign of weakness. When you understand that resistance is biological, you stop attacking yourself. Instead, you start asking a better question. How can I make discipline feel safer and less expensive for my brain? Is procrastination really a sign that you are lazy? When you delay an important task, it is easy to label yourself as lazy, but laziness usually means you do not care, and most people who procrastinate care deeply. They feel stress, guilt, and frustration. That emotional discomfort proves they want to improve. Procrastination is often a signal that the task feels too big, too unclear, or too emotionally uncomfortable. Your brain prefers simple, predictable actions. If a project feels confusing or overwhelming, your brain searches for something easier. This is not a character problem. It is a system problem. When starting requires too many decisions, too much energy, or too much uncertainty, your brain delays. Instead of fighting yourself with negative thoughts, you can reduce the friction. Make the first step smaller. Make the task clearer. Prepare your tools before you begin. When the action feels simple and defined, resistance decreases naturally. Procrastination becomes less powerful when starting feels safe and manageable. Why does starting feel harder than continuing? Starting feels hard because your brain is predicting effort before you even move. It is like standing at the bottom of a hill and looking up. The hill may not be impossible, but from the bottom, it looks big. Your brain tries to protect you from spending too much energy, so it creates hesitation. It suggests waiting. It suggests comfort. But once you begin, something interesting happens. The fear becomes smaller. Momentum appears. You realize the task is not as painful as your brain predicted. This is why reducing the first step is powerful. Instead of planning to study for 1 hour, Tell yourself you will study for 5 minutes. Instead of promising to change your whole life, focus on one small action today. When the beginning feels light and easy, your brain relaxes. It stops seeing the task as a threat. And often, once you start, you naturally continue far beyond what you planned. How can you design your environment to trick your brain? Your environment quietly controls your behavior more than your motivation does. What you see, what is easy to reach, and what requires effort all influence your decisions. If your phone is next to you while you work, distraction is only one touch away. If your study materials are hidden in a drawer, starting feels heavier. To trick your brain, you change the environment instead of changing your personality. Make disciplined actions obvious and convenient. Leave your notebook open on your desk. Put your running shoes near the door. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Remove small obstacles that create friction. When the productive choice is the easiest choice available, your brain follows it naturally. You are not forcing yourself with pressure or guilt. You are guiding yourself with smart design. Discipline becomes less about fighting temptation and more about creating conditions where the right action feels automatic and almost inevitable. What is mental friction, and why does it quietly control your behavior? Mental friction is the invisible resistance between you and an action. It is not dramatic. It is not loud. It is the small thought that says, "I will start later," or "This feels like too much right now." Even tiny obstacles increase friction. If you must search for your notebook, choose a lesson, clean your desk, and decide how long to study, your brain sees many steps. And many steps mean more energy. Your brain prefers fewer steps. That is why reducing friction is powerful. Prepare your space before you need it. Decide in advance what you will work on. Make the first step clear and simple. When the path is smooth, your brain does not argue as much. You remove the excuse before it appears. Discipline becomes lighter because starting requires less thinking. And when starting is easier, repeating the action becomes more natural over time. How can choice architecture guide your decisions without force? Choice architecture is the way your options are organized around you. It may sound complex, but it is simple in practice. Your brain often chooses what is most visible and easiest to access. If snacks are on the table, you eat them. If your phone screen is full of social media apps, you open them automatically. But if your book is on your pillow, you are more likely to read before sleeping. You can arrange your environment so the disciplined option is the easiest one available. Move distractions farther away. Place tools for productive work closer. Make good choices simple and bad choices inconvenient. When the structure around you supports your goal, you do not need to fight temptation all the time. Your environment quietly pushes you in the right direction. Discipline becomes the natural result of good design, not constant struggle. How does habit stacking make discipline feel automatic? Habit stacking means connecting a new habit to something you already do every day. Your brain loves patterns and routines. When one action consistently follows another, the connection becomes strong. For example, after you brush your teeth, you review 5 English words. After you drink your morning coffee, you read 1 page. The existing habit becomes a trigger for the new one. You do not need extra motivation because the cue already exists. This reduces mental effort. You are not deciding again and again. You are following a sequence. Over time, the new behavior feels connected to your daily rhythm. It stops feeling like an extra task. It becomes part of your identity and routine. By stacking habits, you trick your brain into accepting discipline as something normal, not something difficult. How can you make disciplined actions more attractive? Your brain moves toward what feels good and avoids what feels unpleasant. If discipline feels only serious and stressful, your brain resists. To change this, add small rewards to the process. You can enjoy a favorite drink during focused work. You can track your progress and feel proud when you see improvement. Even small satisfaction matters. When your brain connects effort with positive emotion, it becomes more willing to repeat the action. Attraction does not mean turning work into entertainment. It means creating a positive, emotional link. Instead of thinking, "I have to do this," you begin to think, "This helps me grow." When discipline feels connected to pride, progress, and self-respect, your brain slowly starts to like it instead of fear it. Why is identity stronger than motivation? Motivation changes daily, but identity stays longer. When you depend on motivation, your actions depend on feelings, and feelings are unpredictable. But when you build an identity, your actions become consistent. Instead of saying, "I am trying to be disciplined," say, "I am becoming a disciplined person." Each small action becomes proof of that belief. When you study for 10 minutes, you vote for that identity. When you follow your routine, you strengthen that image of yourself. Your brain prefers consistency between belief and action. So if you truly believe you are someone who shows up daily, you will look for opportunities to act that way. Identity reduces internal conflict. Discipline becomes less about forcing behavior and more about expressing who you are. And when disciplined actions match your self-image, they feel natural, stable, and easier to repeat. Why is consistency more powerful than extreme effort? Many people believe big change requires big action. They start with strong energy, long study sessions, strict routines, and very high expectations. But extreme effort often leads to exhaustion. Your brain becomes tired and begins to resist even more. Consistency, however, feels safer. Small daily actions require less energy and less emotional pressure. When you repeat a simple habit every day, your brain builds strong neural pathways. The action becomes familiar, and familiar actions feel safe. Safety reduces resistance. Instead of depending on excitement, you depend on rhythm, and rhythm is sustainable. 5 minutes every day is stronger than 1 hour once a week. When you focus on being steady rather than intense, you reduce stress and increase confidence. Your brain starts to trust the pattern. And when your brain trusts the pattern, discipline begins to feel stable instead of overwhelming. How does satisfaction train your brain to repeat disciplined behavior? Your brain repeats what feels rewarding. If you finish a task and feel only pressure or criticism, your brain does not want to return to that experience. But if you connect your effort to a small sense of satisfaction, your brain remembers it differently. Satisfaction can be simple. You can mark a check on your calendar. You can track your progress and see improvement. You can pause for a moment and quietly say, "I did it." That small emotional reward matters. It teaches your brain that effort leads to something positive. Over time, your brain begins to expect that good feeling after action. This expectation reduces resistance. Discipline becomes connected to pride and self-respect instead of stress. When disciplined behavior feels satisfying, even in a small way, repetition becomes easier and more natural. How can you reduce procrastination without using guilt? Guilt feels powerful, but it rarely creates long-term discipline. When you criticize yourself, your stress increases, and stress makes your brain search for comfort. That often leads to more avoidance. Instead of using guilt, use clarity and simplicity. Break your task into the smallest possible step. Decide exactly when and where you will begin. Prepare everything before the moment arrives. When your plan is clear, your brain feels less uncertainty. And less uncertainty means less fear. Remember, procrastination is often a sign that the task feels too large or confusing. When you reduce complexity, you reduce resistance. Speak to yourself with calm guidance, not harsh judgment. When discipline feels safe and structured instead of stressful and emotional, your brain becomes more willing to cooperate. Can disciplined behavior truly become automatic? At the beginning, every disciplined action feels conscious. You must remind yourself, push yourself, and think about each step. But repetition changes the brain. When you perform the same behavior in the same context again and again, your neural pathways grow stronger. The action requires less mental energy. It becomes familiar. Familiar actions feel comfortable. Over time, your routine begins to guide you without much effort. You wake up and follow the pattern. You sit down and begin because that is what you normally do. Automatic does not mean perfect. It means easier. You still have difficult days, but the structure supports you. When your environment stays consistent and your habits repeat, discipline becomes part of your rhythm. It stops feeling like a battle and starts feeling like something natural. What is the real secret to making your brain like discipline? The real secret is not forcing yourself to enjoy hard work. It is designing your life so disciplined behavior feels obvious, easy, and satisfying. Your brain wants safety, clarity, and reward. When you reduce friction, arrange your environment wisely, stack new habits onto existing routines, and build an identity around consistency, you work with your biology instead of fighting it. Discipline becomes the path of least resistance. You no longer depend on motivation that changes every day. You depend on structure that remains stable. And when disciplined action becomes the simplest option available, your brain slowly begins to accept it. What once felt difficult starts to feel normal. What once felt forced begins to feel natural. And that is how you truly trick your brain into liking discipline, by making discipline part of who you are and how you live. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss the next lesson. Your support means so much. It keeps this space alive and growing. With love. Thank you for being here, and I can't wait to continue this journey with you.